The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, says government will not renege on its effort to get the economy back on track. Dr. Bawumia said the government understands the suffering of Ghanaians and has adopted several measures in different sectors of the economy, especially education, infrastructure and agriculture, to alleviate the hardships citizens are enduring. He made the speech at the Black Star Square, where he joined hundreds of Muslims to welcome the new month of Shawwal following a successful fasting period. Here are excerpts of the Vice President's speech.
The effects of the pandemic, which ravaged global economies, did not spare us. Businesses suffered, private jobs were lost, government lost huge revenues, and also spent massively to ameliorate the plight of Ghanaians. In effect, the pandemic severely drew the economy back from the massive progress the government had achieved between 2017 and 2019. This setback, without doubt, made life more difficult for citizens and government, as prices of goods soared across the world due to the abnormal increase of the cost of international freight. As if that was not enough, another setback in the form of the sudden global effects of the Russia-Ukraine war hit us at the beginning of this year, when our economy showed signs of bouncing back from the shackles of COVID-19. In spite of the unexpected destructive global factors which have severely affected the economy in the past 2 years, our government has not reneged on its development commitments to the people of Ghana in the areas of education, healthcare, and infrastructure development, amongst others. In education, we have continuously strengthened our flagship education policy, the free senior high school, and we have not reneged on other pro-poor interventions we introduced, such as feeding our children at a basic level and also paying for their BC and WACC examination fees. We have introduced free TVET also to enhance technical education. In health, government continues to show strong commitment towards the National Health Insurance Scheme, and we have recruited thousands of health workers since the pandemic, contrary to the disturbing situation in the past, where health workers were left for almost 3 years without being employed. Again, in health, our hospitals for all districts, also known as Agenda 111 initiative, is also ongoing. In the youth development and employment, the government has ensured that no public sector job was lost or salary cuts implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic, unlike many other countries where public sector workers were laid off or their salaries reduced. Also, we have invested massively in entrepreneurial development and support to the youth in a bid to help create sustainable opportunities for our teeming youth.
Meanwhile, the Chief Imam, Sheikh Osman Nuhu Sharbutu, was particularly interested in the government's promise to invest in Islamic education and offer scholarships to children in Zongo communities. Sheikh Aremiyao Shaibu speaks for him.
Your Excellency, Chief Imam has asked me also to add a word of commendation to the government for all the initiatives and the policies that was introduced to contain the spread of the COVID-19 that country, and also material support that was distributed to people who have even to be in a needy situation. We are also impressed with the promise made with the Chief Imam. Your Excellency, Chief Imam says he looks forward for the time when we shall do the first shortcutting of the government's intended model Islamic schools in the Zongos spread across the country. The Chief Imam cannot wait and is waiting to see the day when this shortcutting will.
As Muslims across the country observe the Eid al-Fitr festivities, which mark the end of the holy month of Ramadan, the Municipal Chief Executive of Municipal Chief Imam of Al-Sunnah Wal Jamal, Imam Idrisu Suleiman, has cautioned Muslims, particularly the youth, to stay away from engaging in acts that go against the teachings of Islam and the laws of the country. He bemoaned the rate at which people ride carelessly on motorbikes during Eid celebrations and noted that Islam is against such celebrations. Correspondent Anas Sabet was at the Eid ground in Techiman and came through with this report.
After a month of prayer, devotion and self-control, Muslims celebrate the accomplishment of their sacred duties during Ramadan with the beginning of Eid al-Fitr, or the festival of breaking the fast. In some parts of the country, some Muslim youth observe this day with activities which includes the reckless riding of motorbikes and other non-Islamic acts. Municipal Chief Imam of Al-Sunnah Wal Jamal for Techiman, Imam Idrisu Suleiman, expressed worry at the situation and cautioned the youth to desist from engaging into acts that are against the laws of the country.
I call on Muslim anything that is not lawful. You know, Ghana have law. We have law on riding, law on driving. If you try not to follow that law, it means you are not a good Muslim. So I'm calling on the youth. Those riding motorcycles like they are celebrating Eid, that riding motorcycle carelessly on the road, that is not celebrating Eid. And at the same time, we have some people too who do Salah dance. Salah have no dance, Salah have no jam, Salah have nothing like that. That is worldly things. So we shouldn't mix our Eid with worldly things.
Imam Idris also expressed worry at the way Muslim students, particularly girls, are being treated in the various senior high schools in the country with regards to the wearing of hijab for our Muslim girls. He's cautioning authorities, particularly in the education sector, to allow Muslim students to practice what the religion teaches.
Because of our lateness in doing infrastructure for education and so on, our children are being tackled in their schools to stop using hijab and so on, especially the girls. I want to call on the government that Ghana is a secular state. I beg on our friends and our Ghanaian brothers who are non-Muslims that they should try to allow Muslims to practice their Islam there, instead of forcing them to do some people's religion.
Some of the Muslims here have been expressing what the Eid means to them. They are excited about the situation, and Abdul Karim Hussein is one of them.
First thing, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I'm very, very excited that after going through this 30 days cleansing, Alhamdulillah, I've been alive to witness this great day, to come around with all these marvelous people and worship my Lord.
For Mubarak Hashir, also a Muslim and a health worker, he is particularly worried with the way the youth observe this particular day, especially the careless riding of motorbikes. He has a message for Muslim youth.
My advice to them is, as a health worker, we've been observing a lot of cases at the hospital, most especially at this time period. When you see a young guy like this losing his or her, any of the upper or the lower limbs, it's very hurtful. So I entreat all the youths to stay calm. At least their life is more precious to us and then the whole community.
So this is it from the Jako LA School Park here in the Techima municipality of the Borno East region. My name is Anas Sabit reporting for Joy News.
Now let's do some politics. And former President John Dramani Mahama has assured Ghanaians that if voted into Power Camp 2025, a new NDC government will repeal the E-Levy Act. According to him, the E-Levy is only a distortionary and burdensome tax that only forces Ghanaians to pay more while suffering. Addressing the nation on the theme Ghana at a Crossroads on Monday, Mr. Mahama said, unfortunately, in the face of this self-inflicted economic catastrophe, the NPP government has gone against all sound advice and introduced the E-Levy that heaps more suffering on Ghanaians.
The collection of the E-Levy began yesterday. And like a slap in the face, it began on Midday. When we are supposed to be celebrating workers, we are celebrating a new tax imposed on them. And already there's a litany of complaints about the implementation. I've heard complaints of transfers of under 100 cedis being subject to tax contrary to the law. And I've heard others say that they sent 1,000 cedis and paid no additional tax. Clearly, the Ghana Revenue Authority and those responsible for this tax were not ready for its implementation. Government's desperation to tax Ghanaians to get this nation out of the hellhole it has dumped us will not succeed because government's own budget proposals show that the E-Levy will not make any significant contribution in resolving our problems, but will exert an adverse toll on the people of Ghana. We in the NDC do not oppose taxation as a principle. We will not be pretentious and couch fanciful slogans to condemn the principle of taxation like the NPP did in the past. We are, however, implacably opposed to distortionary and burdensome taxes like the E-Levy that only force Ghanaians to endure more suffering. A new National Democratic Congress government, God willing, and with the votes of the sovereign people of Ghana in 2025, will repeal the E-Levy Act. Even as this government remains fixated with taxing their way out of economic mismanagement, the Akufo-Addo government has been wasteful. They failed to demonstrate prudence in public financial management. The people of Ghana cannot be called upon to pay more taxes only for the accruing money belonging to the people to be dubiously and wastefully shared amongst family and friends through various fraudulent procurement practices. The creature comforts of the president and his officials cannot be more paramount than the need to protect the public purse and make savings that can be invested in more useful ventures such as education, health, and social housing for Ghanaians.
Now, former President John Dramani Mahama also criticized the NPP government for failing to provide textbooks 3 years after the introduction of the new curriculum at the basic school level.
The minimum expectation was that the NPP government will build on the strong foundation that had been bequeathed them and achieve incremental progress over what they met. They have instead carried out a demolition exercise of that foundation and left our economy in quicksand, sinking at an alarming rate. However, now we know that responsibility and prudence are not concepts that appear to be appreciated by this government. As we speak, the cash crunch arising out of the rigidities in the economy is having a devastating toll on almost all sectors of our national life. Let's take the education sector, for instance. At the basic level, capitation grants have been in arrears for nearly a year. Textbooks have not been supplied to basic school pupils for 3 straight years. At the SHS level, lengthy delays in the release of funds have crippled the free SHS program, compelling key stakeholders like CHAS and NAT to issue ultimatums to government. There have been widespread reports of food shortages and nutrition deficient poor quality food in schools across the country. And the academic calendar has become erratic due to non-availability of funds to run the schools. At the tertiary level, UTAG recently just ended a protracted strike action to call on government to honor its commitments on salary rationalization and better conditions of service. The UTAG strike severely undermined teaching and learning on our various campuses. College of Education students have spent more time at home than in school because of the lack of funds, and trainee allowances have been in arrears for several months amidst threats by school authorities to shift the cost of feeding onto students in the absence of timely release of funds by government.
So, on the textbooks, what has been the impact on education? A research fellow at the Africa Education Watch, Divine Pe, says the lack of textbooks is adversely affecting basic education.
We are all aware of the very fact that 3 years on, after the introduction of the new curriculum, we do not have textbooks to ensure effective teaching and learning in our schools. Several deadlines were given, and the recent one given by the PRO of the Education Ministry was March 2022. So when school resumed in January, 31st of January, on your show, or Joy News, he gave March 2022 as the deadline for distribution of textbooks to schools. But as at now, schools have still not received them. We know that it's basically about procurement and financial handicaps as far as government is concerned. That has occasioned a delay in the procurement and distribution of textbooks to school. And we can't discount the effect of lack of textbooks in our school, more especially for the fact that we are even introducing a new curriculum, or we have to introduce a new curriculum. And some of the concepts and how to approach them, especially if you look at the aspect of creative arts, some of the concepts are new to teach some of the teachers, and they would have needed some guideline, not only the textbook only, but also teachers' guideline, but we do not have that. And our studies have also indicated that teachers have to resort to the internet to look for materials themselves. And if we are talking about standard-based curriculum and teachers are getting material from different angles to teach the students, then it tells you that that's going to defeat the purpose of a standard-based curriculum system, because teachers are teaching across the length and breadth of the country may not be of standard, given the fact that they are all getting their material sourced from different areas. So that is a challenge over there. And then also, some of them where PTAs are effective or SMC are effective, they are supplying them with textbooks. And not only about the teachers, but students as well. You know, the student need a textbook for them also to maybe send home to read, especially for the aspect of English. A teacher can give them a passage to go and read at home. But to what teachers are doing is to be writing some of the passages on board for students to copy from their teacher resource pack. They write on notes and blackboard for students to copy, and that alone even takes away much from the instructional time. The amount of time the teacher will spend writing on board alone is taken away from the instructional time.
Now, the biggest telecommunications operator in Ghana, MTN, has warned the country will continue to face challenges with the implementation of the e-levy until at least July. CEO of Mobile Money at MTN, Elevy, has been sharing his thoughts and solutions to the implementation challenges on the Super Morning Show.
I think, first of all, to the earlier submissions I made, I talked about the project's implementation, and our focus now is to give our customers the best experience. And I'm sure that's why once the report came through, our teams have quickly picked it up and are looking at resolving it. These things would happen in terms of the project implementation. I don't want to go into the calculations, but once it's been picked up as an error, it will be addressed. Remember, you alluded to the fact that today, when you are doing a transaction to yourself on Vodafone from MTN or vice versa, you would not know because the system has not been configured up to that point yet. But we believe that customers will get the benefit of refunds if that becomes the case. But in cases where it is a genuine transaction, then the transaction will be processed. So we will continue to work on that. Every day we pick up the issues and we address it. I'm sure come today, if this transaction happened yesterday and he goes back to do the same transaction, the results will not be the same, because we've looked at the issue, we've picked it up as a problem, and we've tried to address it. So each day as we pick the issues, we address them, and the experience will just get better and better, because I'm sure some of the complaints that we had on day 1 are not the complaints we now have on day 2. And then as we go into day 3, the problems get to reduce. The specific complaints, there were some on apps where people were not seeing specific information. Those were picked up and they have been resolved. So today, when somebody is giving you complaints, that will no longer be part of it. So like I started, the focus now is how do we give the customers the best experience in the implementation, because we do not want that to become the reason why they are not using their Momo wallets. We want to encourage customers to continue to, because there are still a number of transactions which you would execute today which does not attract Elevy for very good reasons. And we want customers to begin to see those positive sides, blend it, and have a blended experience of using their mobile money wallets.
Some delegates of the new Patriotic Party in the Kumu constituency have converged for 2 days to restrain any party official from conducting a constituency election. This is to uphold the decision of the National Executive to put the election on hold following a petition from some aggrieved members. It took the intervention of the police to prevent the escalation of the situation. Nanaya Ojima has followed issues in the area and filed this report.
The delegates, numbering over 200, picket at different locations in the Kumu town. There was information some party executives from the regional level planned to hold the election despite directives for exemption. Some aggrieved members had petitioned the Alternative Dispute Resolution and Legal Committee over some disturbances in the constituency. For the reason, 11 polling stations and 25 electoral area elections are yet to be held, hence an incomplete voter album. Fridia Ajiman is constituency secretary.
We knew that the album that had been compiled was fraudulent because 24 polling station elections had not been conducted. 25 electoral area coordinators election had not been conducted. But here we are with an album that is complete, capturing the 24 polling station executives and the 25 electoral area coordinators. Right. And so we were waiting to hear from the party. And God so good, before the election could come on, we had the communication that the director of the elections himself, Mr. Evans Nimakon, had issued a statement that 47 constituencies in Ashanti region, Kumu constituency and Manshia North constituency, there are issues with the polling station and electoral area elections, and so we should keep it on hold.
A memorandum cited by Love News restrains the constituency from holding elections. The memo signed by a Director of Research and Elections, Evans Nimakon, dated 30th April, explicitly directs regional and constituency executives to comply with the directive. Frederick Ajiman believes until the national leadership directs otherwise, any attempt to hold the election will result in chaos.
I'm told that they had a wind that the member of parliament and some people wanted to conduct the elections today. So they also wanted to come and find out whether there were going to be any election. If there were going to be elections, the election committees were supposed to direct the secretary through the chairman to write to every electoral area coordinator to inform the polling stations under him that they are to come for the delegates conference. But nothing of that sort had gone on. And so they felt that they should come and verify to see whether there are elections going on.
Nanaya Ojima's report for Joy News.
The chairperson of the Kumasi Presbytery of the Global Evangelical Church is blaming corruption in Ghana on the failure of the church to impact on the lives of its members. Reverend Dr. Rosalind Fuga says the white-held belief that Ghana is a Christian nation is not enough when the majority of Ghanaians who are members of the church continue to be involved in corruption. Ominteria has more in the following report.
Ghana's corruption index performance over the years has been abysmally poor. The country was ranked 75th out of 180 countries by Transparency International in the Global Corruption Perception Index in 2020. Though the country's performance is an improvement of the 2019-2018 report, having moved 5 places from 78 to 75, Reverend Dr. Fuga believes high incidence of corruption, where the citizenry want to amass wealth through dubious means at the expense of others, is dangerous. According to her, corruption, which is endemic in the country, transcends from ordinary Ghanaians to those in leadership positions. Speaking at the 2022 Representative Conference of the Church in Kumasi, she blamed the church for contributing to the canker by failing to bring the true gospel that transform members of the church.
Corruption is like it's gone through the whole fiber of society, from the messenger right through to the head. Everywhere you go, there is a level of corruption. Nobody wants to do anything sacrificially anymore in this nation. It's always, what is it in it for me? And that is not going to help us as a nation. We need people who can be loyal to our nation, who would put the nation ahead of their own personal interests. That is what I believe will push the nation forward. It is endemic, and so that is the reason why I think that in a way we have failed even as a church. We have failed to bring people the true gospel of Christ, that gospel that transforms human beings, the gospel that transforms them so that their lives are so transformed that they will know what is right and what is wrong.
Speaking on the theme, Faithful Stewardship, My Year of Complete Loyalty, Reverend Fuga reiterated the need for Ghanaians to put the country first in all endeavors.
Even in Christendom, I'm interested much more in what do I get out of this? If I am a Christian, I'm going to church because I believe that a miracle will happen. I'll find my healing, I'll find this, I'll find that. But knowing how to be loyal to Christ, that is where the problem is. So we have failed as a church, and I believe that the church should rise up and get back to the old message of repentance and transformation of human lives. It is then and only then that we can transform this nation as well.
Meanwhile, Reverend Fuga expects an end in sight for Ghana's economic hardships, as she called on government to institute measures to alleviate the plight of Ghanaians. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ominteria reporting.
So from Kumasi, let me take you to the Central Region, where Mfantsipim School, Agri Memorial School, TIMS, Putin, and Egwafwe Brim Senior High Schools qualified for the main National Science and Math Quiz competition on the first day of the Central Regional Qualification Contest. Some students of Mfantsipim School and Egwafwe Brim Senior High School who spoke to Joy News are hopeful their schools will lift the national trophy. Maxwell Agbagba has more from Cape.
For the saints who from their labors swear, who live by faith before the world confess, thy name, O James, so be forever blessed.
So Mfantsipim School, they've qualified for the national competition happening later this year. We saw, this sometime last year in the 2021 competition. some of the people, some of the old students I've been speaking to are saying that they are cautiously optimistic because in the 2021 competition, they saw something like this, a similar performance, very good performance, but at the national level, they got kicked out at the 1-8 stage. They want to be careful and be guided this time around. But as you can see, the boys are really excited that they've qualified for the national stage here in Cape Coast. What should we expect in the national competition?
We should expect the best from us. This time we are coming more prepared to win the national, so we expect more from us this year.
We saw something similar last year when you did very well at the regional level, but at the national level it didn't go well. What will change this year?
This year we are counting on God to show favor on us so that this year it will be better than last year.
Okay. What's your name again? Okay. What should we expect?
We should expect the best from us with God on our side. Still, the Infantipim vision still stands to bring fame to the school and also to win more contests.
What should we expect at the national?
We are coming. We are taking it.
One after the other.
We are just
one after
explosives to Cape Coast. We are bringing explosives to Infantipim school.
Explosives here is dangerous. Don't bring explosives here. But what should we expect in the national competition?
Everything is going to be splendid. Everything is going to be splendid. We are going to blow your minds. Everything is
positive vibes. But we are bringing the heat. Positive vibes. Charlie, expect the best. Tell them that we are coming. Tell them.
Which school would you want to compete?
Protect.
Besides, we have done it before.
So schools that have qualified from Central Region for the quiz are Infantipim School, Agri Memorial School, TI Amas, Potson, and Eguafo Ebrim Senior High Schools. Those are the schools coming from the Central Region. All the best to them. Let's move on to other stories here on the Joy News today. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we have more news here. Stay on.
AngloGold Ashanti has revealed it will sustain its indoor residual spraying in the Obuasi district to save more lives. The implementation of the spraying in the district has saved more than 1 million lives against malaria. There is more in the following report.
Ghana accounts for 2.1% and 1.9% of the global malaria cases and deaths, making it one of the top 10 highest malaria-burdened countries in the world. The National Malaria Strategic Plan 2021 to 2025 aims for a 90% reduction in malaria mortality and a 50% reduction in malaria incidents by 2025. Director of AngloGold Ashanti Malaria Control Limited, Samuel Esiedweje, says ending malaria in the district remains a priority.
Indoor residual spraying will continue in Obuasi municipality and Obuasi East. One of the things that we try to do with our program is consistency and sustenance. So if we are not able to sustain it throughout the entire Ashanti region, then we wouldn't be able to do that. But the areas that we are spraying currently, we will continue to spray.
Health workers undergo training on effective case management of malaria in the Adansi North District. The District Health Director, Isaac Owuku Odame, noted increased investment and commitment from the government and the public sector is critical to revitalizing progress against malaria. He spoke at a World Malaria Day program organized by the AngloGold Ashanti at Dumpoase.
We need to intensify our efforts so that going forward we will be able to achieve the malaria control reduction objectives, because we are expected to reduce the number of cases of malaria by applying the interventions. The interventions include the use and mass distribution and use of bed nets. Successfully, we did that and achieved about 97% this year.
A mini clinic was set up by the gold mining company for community members to test for malaria. Speaking at the 2022 Community Health Outreach Program, Nana Hema Efiatokujum, Queen Mother of Dompase, appealed to AngloGold to sustain the initiative. Some items, including insecticide nets, mosquito repellent, and medicated soaps, were donated to Dompase Senior High School to commemorate the day.
200 farmers in selected districts in the Western and Ashanti regions have been trained to produce organic manure using animal droppings and cocoa pods. The project has the goal of reducing the use of inorganic manure on farms and boost harvest. There's more in the following report.
SOS Green Project under the UN Capital Development Fund is promoting waste processing systems that require minimal mechanical equipment in the Asamoah, Framafao and Wasamenfi East districts. The objective is to effectively manage community waste and to utilize organic manure as fertilizer to reduce the presence of persistent organic pollutants in the environment while securing higher crop yields. According to the trainer on the project, Hamid Abdul Mumin, equipping small and medium-scale farmers with skills to produce organic fertilizer will conserve the earth.
The SOS and the UNCDF with SMV on the Green Project had a program to educate its youths and beneficiaries. The need for this is to help to curb the use of inorganic manure that is used on our farms, which have detrimental effects on the soil. Economically, as inorganic fertilizers are soaring out due to increase of prices of these materials, they getting these skills will help them to produce these organic fertilizers locally.
The Assistant Director of Agriculture in the Offenson North District revealed a shortage of fertilizer supply to vegetable farmers in the district is affecting yields. Patrick Asamoah believes the training will solve the situation.
Now we see the inorganic fertilizers in the country. We have scarce inorganic fertilizers. But right now, as we have entered 2022 major farming season, the farmers find it difficult to access the inorganic fertilizers. As this training is welcome or organized, it's going to help the farmers to prepare their own fertilizer when the inorganic ones are not in. And nowadays, the vegetable farmers in the district complain a lot of getting inorganic fertilizers.
Some farmers say opting for manure to skyrocketing fertilizer prices will reduce cost and give their yields more boost than inorganic fertilizer.
We find it difficult to buy fertilizer to apply on our field. And as we've learned from this, it will help us a lot. Let's, for instance, when you take these 2 bags of pottery dropping and compare to the 2 bags of fertilizer or organic fertilizer, you'll see that this one is more. And then you can use it to apply your number of acres in which you farm, and it won't cost you much. Per bag of this pottery dropping is 5 cedis compared to urea, which is 500 Ghana.
The initiative by the UNCDF SOS Green Project is part of efforts to celebrate the 2022 World Earth Day.
That's all for business. We have more business news coming up on Marketplace at 1 p.m.
Time for us to bring you sports. And former captain of the Ghana national team, the Black Stars, Asamoah Gyan, launched his much-anticipated bulk of the weekend at the Kempinski Hotel. Titled Legendary, the book chronicles the life and career of Africa's leading goal scorer at the FIFA World Cup. Here, a highlight.
Thank you. We like amplifying negatives and suppressing positives. But this man here, especially in our meetings, when it came up for some of the controversial moments, and we asked him, Asa, do you want this in the book? Tronina! That's what he would say. Write everything. Because as you would see in the blurb, he says that he does not want your sympathy. He just wants his side of the story told, because it seems that for a long time, only one side of the story has been told. Congratulations on your book, Asamoah. Thank you. You just watched your documentary, or the documentary that was done for you, more accurately. How did you feel?
Before I speak, I would like to acknowledge my friends over there, those who are making my report.
It'd be like if you make
if people don't know, when I played in Dubai, I lived in Dubai for 5 years. And I lived with them in the same house for 5 years. You know? So, yeah. So back to your question. I felt...
Hold on. You sure say you give them the fans finish?
I give them the fans. We'll continue at home. So,
at home, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, watching this, like a surprise to me. The team have done an incredible job. They did everything behind me. I didn't know who they interviewed. When I was watching, got to a time I got emotional. You know, and I'm still very emotional right now. But yeah, at least people who know Asamoah don't really know the real Asamoah. You know, somebody see me as the outspoken type, you know, the more energetic type, but they don't know the emotional type, you know. So I felt very, very emotional, honestly, you know, watching myself all these years. Although I've been watching some videos about me, but, you know, the comments of great men of our land, you know, watching me through all these years, acknowledging what I've done, saying what they said about me, it made me very, very emotional. Sit down and ask myself, why? That hated part, you know, sometimes I ask myself questions. And then I came to understand that it comes with the territory. I put myself into this position. When I started, nobody knew who Asamoah was.
Congrats to Asamoah for that book, and that's all for sports. Up next is World News. That's all in the bulletin for you for today. There's more news at myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo. Remember, this is your home of independent, fearless, credible journalism. Have a good afternoon.